This video will explore the fan favourite character Jango Fett and how his legacy is extremely important to every story you know and love within the Star Wars universe. His mysterious nature and ridiculously cool armour only intrigued the Star Wars fandom when he was introduced in Attack of the Clones. Firstly, Jango Fett is the only non-Mandalorian who convinced the entire Star Wars fandom that he was such. He was a human bounty hunter who only wore Mandalorian armour, claiming to be from one of Mandalore's moons, Concord Dawn. However, this lie does not smear his legacy in any way. It only makes him more true to who he is, a simple man trying to make his way in the universe. Jango was chosen by Count Dooku, or Darth Tyrannus as he was known to Jango, to be the genetic template for the clone army, which would later be the army which was devoted to Emperor Palpatine during Order 66. But was this the first job given to him by Count Dooku? During the 2002 PlayStation 2 game Star Wars Bounty Hunter, Jango was hired by Dooku to kill Kamari Vossa. She was a Jedi Padawan turned evil by Count Dooku, and now was the leader of the Bando Gora, a force-worshipping cult who acted as a criminal organisation during the invasion of Naboo. She was found on one of the moons of Bogdan, which is where Jango defeats and kills her. This trial proved to Dooku that Jango was in fact the acceptable candidate for the cloning process. Her lightsabers might look incredibly familiar as they are the same as Asajj Ventress's in the Clone Wars. It appears Dooku gave them to Ventress after she became his apprentice. However, as this game is no longer canon, this story has appeared to have changed. Jango was still hired by Dooku on the moons of Bogdan many years before Attack of the Clones, but Kamari Vossa is never mentioned. We know this because Jango tells Obi-Wan this for the first time they meet on Kamino.
Really? I was recruited by a man called Tyrannus on one of the moons of Bogdan.
The conversation is also shown in the new book Age of Republic: The Villains, where the conversation between Dooku and Jango is shown halfway through the story. The story of how Jango became the genetic template for the clone army has not changed drastically, but personally, after playing Star Wars Bounty Hunter as a kid, and now when I'm older, I much prefer the story with Kamari Vossa. It cements Jango's already concrete legacy into something more of a spectacle. After Jango Fett's introduction in Attack of the Clones, we automatically assumed that Boba Fett was his son, and we were correct. This was another part of Jango's legacy. But how did he raise the unaltered clone he called his son to be a bounty hunter who was just as good, if not better than himself? What was the relationship between him and Boba like, and how did Boba begin his own legacy even in the shadow of his father's? Boba was clearly taught to be a bounty hunter from a relatively young age. When he and Jango were double-crossed on a job on Ord Mantell by two bounty hunters called Rin and Tiva, Boba kills them both and lets the third bounty hunter on the job, Nilda, away with his life and none of the bounty he was supposed to collect. Boba knew Nilda would spread the word that he was just as cold-blooded and ruthless as his father. His legacy as a feared bounty hunter began that day, a legacy passed down from his father before him. This relationship can only be shown after Jango is killed by Mace Windu on Geonosis and Boba picks up his dead father's helmet. Even though we know who Boba grows up to be, we still feel sad for him that his father has died in front of his eyes. Even Count Dooku gives a concerned look to the young Boba Fett. But his legacy is not only passed down and carried into the future by Boba, but by the first generation of stormtroopers during the Galactic Empire. However, the ranks were soon depleted and filled with human recruits and conscripts. This can only be seen during Solo: A Star Wars Story, where the majority of officers aren't clones at all. Even though he had such limited screen time in Attack of the Clones, Jango Fett definitely left a legacy behind him, not only within the story of Star Wars itself, with Boba slowly becoming more and more like his father, becoming a bounty hunter with help from well-known bounty hunters Aurra Sing and Bossk, and then being in all three original Star Wars films, most notably The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, working for Jabba the Hutt, but also with the fandom, as without Jango Fett in Attack of the Clones and getting hyped about his character arc, we would not have been introduced to the other Mandalorian story arcs during the Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels, shown with the Death Watch and Black Saber story arcs in both television shows. Jango Fett's legacy was not only important within the story of Star Wars, as without him the clone army would not have been at its full potential and may not even been able to execute Order 66. As well as this, Boba Fett would not have been the most feared bounty hunter in the galaxy during the time of the Empire, and may not have been able to secure the capture of Han Solo for both Darth Vader and Jabba the Hutt. His legacy was also important in introducing other fan favourite story arcs surrounding Mandalorians. Jango Fett is one of the most interesting characters in the Star Wars universe. I hope this video has shown this. Also, that the legacy he left behind was pivotal to the Star Wars universe. I hope you enjoyed the video, like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.